So who knows how Sneal will be in the NFL, but I hope he blossoms like I liked him out of Kentucky.
And I definitely think he'll take over for James Conner.
Welcome back, guys, to another brand new episode of Ethan and Mike Sports Show. I'm your host, Ethan. For episode 39, we will not have Mike on today, but I brought on someone special on today from the community, the sports podcast community. He is from the Fanalyze Sports. We got one out of the two. Lewis, how you doing, Lewis?
I'm doing great. Someone special. I like that introduction. Makes me feel
that?
wanted.
Oh, yeah. And you got that Baker Mayfield. When we were recording this, it's Thursday night. It's good. The Browns and the Bengals. So he's hoping this Baker Mayfield does something in interceptions and forcing the ball to OBJ a lot.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I have to say I'm really nervous for it, but we'll see.
I know he's nervous because Baker Mayfield's going to force that ball to OBJ because OBJ will start complaining if he does not get nothing out of that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. But before we get into that more about your Fanalyze Sports, I wanted for today's sponsor, Thrive Fantasy. So what is Thrive Fantasy? Thrive Fantasy, the daily fantasy sports app, has tons of money. They have reached 1,300,000 in prizes since launching 2018. Now, today's a great way to start since NFL is also back for week 2 now. You can pick 10 players out of 20, and you can win some cash money. You can go use our promo code Ethan and Mike when you sign up, $20 or more. You pay down 20, boom, you get $20 back. It's both win-win. So what are you waiting for? Download Thrive Fantasy app store today and prop up, or go to thrivefantasy.com. Now, Lewis, what has you created Fanalyze Sports? Tell me the backstory of Fanalyze Sports for everybody that's new here.
Well, it started with a very low budget, just 3 teenagers in a car on a Friday after school, and we said, love talking sports. Why not record it once? Post it as a podcast, and it started from there. We've definitely had some hiccups, some small growth, but recently it's done really well. So I'm very proud of the work we've done. It's amazing. I would have never imagined this when we started it, but it started something so small, just 3 guys loving sports. That's what I love about this podcasting industry. Anyone can make it. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. So.
Yeah, I totally agree 100%. You just never know what the right pieces to put out there during the podcast industry, Especially we have this group together, a sports podcast group that we are in. We're always supporting each other. Got everybody's back. We're always trying to get to the best. But let me just talk about your startup, really, how you got really getting out there with fantasy. When did you start realizing that you can use fantasy to get people into your content?
Well, my first fantasy TikTok wasn't until probably just a couple weeks ago. I posted one. I did a fantasy draft with a lot of my buddies, posted it, and it just blew up. People loved it. People were asking for me to grade there. So I told them, hey, just DM me and I'll do it. Got a lot more DMs than I was expecting. Didn't sleep for a couple nights, but got them done. So, it was just a couple weeks ago. Wanted to post them and people loved them. So I think that fantasy football, because everybody's doing it nowadays. A lot of people spend money on it. They want to know the right guys to pick. And I feel like I have a pretty good mindset of who to pick. So,
yeah, trust me. Startums and situms for this week 2. So at quarterback, who are you really trusting at quarterback if you're trying for waiver wire, really, for stardom?
For waiver wire, that's a really tough one. Honestly, Drew Lock would not be a horrible pick. I know you had somebody on who liked that last week, but also I'm kind of trusting Big Ben now. I mean, he's fully back. He looked really good. Got Juju, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, a whole lot of weapons, great O-line. I'm trusting Big Ben. Defense is going to put the ball in his hands. So I like Big Ben for waiver wires, definitely.
Yeah, I will agree there. Big Ben did pretty good against the Giants last week with 3 touchdowns. To the Juju, which if you saw those dances, they were funny as heck. But Big Ben, especially since he's playing Denver, I really see him really connecting. He's gonna be like the old Big Ben that we used to see. Switch to running backs now.
All
So
right.
so running backs who I really feel that you should really start. I like Jonathan Taylor a lot and J.K. Dobbins, especially Dobbins now has taken over Ingram really in week 1 just alone. Because everyone's not even if you're trying to trade Mark Ingram, there's no chance. No chance at all. Someone tried to trade me Ingram and that was never gonna happen. It was like trading Dobbins for Ingram. That sounds a dumb trade right there.
Definitely, yeah.
But Jonathan Taylor, though, especially since Mac got injured with ACL, which we hope for a speedy recovery there. But Taylor now will get more productive on the ball. So expect
Yeah.
Taylor's and Robinson, another guy from Jacksonville. So it's gonna be really interesting. Robinson did pretty good, although they did let go Fournette, but Robinson did pretty good. But who do you really think people should get for the running back position, really?
Well, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head when you were talking about Jonathan Taylor, because Marlon Mack out for the season. They have Naheem Hines, but I don't know how much he's going to really come into play. So I love Jonathan Taylor. Also, James Conner now, I believe, is out. I know I'm staying on the Steelers for some reason. I'm really high up on them this year. But Benny Snell, he played really well on Monday night. Now that James Conner is I think he's questionable for week 2.
Questionable, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just – I don't love James Conner as a running back. I think Benny Snell, sooner rather than later, is going to become their running back 1. So, yeah, absolutely pick up Benny Snell. Jonathan Taylor, like you said. The football team, that running back, I can't remember his name, but he can play absolutely everything. Gibson. So,
Gibson,
yeah, all those guys.
Yeah. I know I love Sneal when he came out of college out of Kentucky. I really hope he does blossom in the NFL. But it's going to be very hard since James Conner right now is still going to be the number 1 running back for the Steelers unless Sneal does pretty impressive this week 2 against Denver. So that's going to be very interesting. Derrick Henry against Denver did 116 yards over them. So it's going to be very interesting. If Conner is out, I will trust in Sneal in that game. That I really will trust. So who knows how Sneal will be in the NFL, but I hope he blossoms like I liked him out at Kentucky.
And I definitely think he'll take over for James Conner because I put up a poll earlier on Instagram, like how do you feel about James Conner basically? And a lot of the results were, he's a definitely below average starting running back. You know, he's mediocre. I got a lot of he's trash. So
yeah, I heard not top 10.
Yeah, definitely not.
I say like between top 10 and 20. That's how I feel about James Conner, really.
Yeah, I might even put him lower. I might put him like low 20s, around the 20 to 25 range. So yeah, we'll just have to see. I think Benny Snell will take over though. Yeah.
That's how I really feel about Conner, really. Like I think he's a good catch and the run, but to compare the other running backs in the league, he's not top 10, I'll tell you that. But then in the wide receiver position, who are you really trusting this Sunday for the wide receivers? I got a few, but I want to hear you first.
Well, I like Alan Lazard of the Packers. He kind of established himself as that wide receiver too, and you can only throw to Devontae Adams so many times. I believe he got like 4 or 5 receptions last week, so I like him as a solid wide receiver too for the Packers. Man, this is tough. Who else do I like? I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and tell me yours? Let me think this over once.
I like Hopkins over the Washington team. I really think Hopkins will once again come up big for the Cardinals. That Kyle Murray and Hopkins connection has been really clicking. If you saw against the 49ers defense. Now you may say 49ers defense is kind of secondary slacking, especially Richard Sherman just got out in the IR. But I really think that connection is going to be really good and it's going to continue go forward against Washington. And another wide receiver I'm really interested in is Cooper Kupp. I know Cooper Kupp last week didn't get too well against Dallas. He was mostly targeting more Robert Woods, but especially against the Philadelphia Eagles, they looked like they were going to lock down the Washington football, but they didn't. In the end, Washington football beat the Eagles, so I really think Kupp will rebound, and he will do pretty good for the Rams. That's my 2 for starting for the wide receiver position. That's what I really feel.
Yeah, I'm pretty high up on Cooper Kupp. I wanted to say Calvin Ridley against the Cowboys. I really love him just for fantasy in general. His first 2 seasons, over 800 yards. He played a really good game against Seattle last week, so I can see him going off this week and for many weeks to come. So I love Calvin Ridley.
But then let's go to tight ends positions. Who do you think is like a good waiver?
Well, He might not be waiver wire. Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody has this guy, but I want to bring up two names. Number one, Dallas Goedert. He led the Eagles in receptions with 8 last week, got a touchdown. Him and Ertz are a deadly duo. I still don't love the Eagles receiving core, so I think the tight ends, that makes them that much more important. And then Noah Fant, I've been super high up on this guy, said he's super underrated, and he just got a ton of receptions from Drew Lock, especially with Cortland Sutton out and now most likely being limited week 2. So those are my two guys, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too. My tight ends, I actually have two tight ends that I'm really interested on. Logan Thomas from Washington Football. I really see him as a good tight end for Washington. He's been blossomed. As you remember, Logan Thomas used to be a quarterback before when he was joining the NFL, but he transitioned to a tight end position. But I really liked him in week 1 against Philly, and I think he will do the same thing against the Arizona defense, especially. And then another player I really like too, Eric Ebron. Although he disappointed week 1, but they're going to play Denver, and Denver gives the most points to tight ends. So I think Eric Ebron is going to bounce back from just giving only 2 points for your fantasy. So I really see Eric Ebron bouncing back for the tight end position.
I have one more. Can I just spit it out real quick?
Spit it
All
out.
right. Evan Ingram of the Giants. I like him a lot. They've got that wide receiver trio where you don't really know who that number 1 guy is. It's going to be Slayton, Shepard, maybe Tate. But I love Evan Ingram for fantasy this year. So I think he's kind of going to establish himself as Daniel Jones' go-to guy. He didn't perform great Monday against Pittsburgh, but I think he'll bounce back definitely. Play the Bears. Not the easiest matchup in the world, but I still like him.
Yeah, the Bears are going to be tough.
Yeah, definitely.
What's crazy is that I almost forgot to mention on quarterback, I have Mitchell Trubisky as a sleeper.
Really? Oh.
As against the Giants. If you really think about it, the Giants let Big Ben get 3 touchdowns that game. So that's why I have Mitchell Trubisky coming out that game.
It's a risk. It's just kind of a
risk, but I will take that chance for Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
He did throw 3 touchdowns against the Lions, but that was late. But they're playing against the Giants, so I really will trust in that. So I will take Mitchell Trubisky if you're having problems finding a quarterback, a solid quarterback in your league. Flex. So in our flexes, who are you looking for exactly?
Ooh. I'm gonna let you go first. I gotta formulate some guys here.
Man, it's gonna be very interesting. For my flex, I'm gonna go back to my running backs. What I mentioned before. If you have Dobbins, I will put him in there. If you have 2 great running backs in there, I will put in Dobbins or Taylor, especially in that flex. For wide receiver position, I will put wide receivers. Actually, no. I'll actually put Eckler in my flex. Actually, Eckler against the Chiefs is gonna be very interesting because Eckler does pretty good against the Chiefs, so I would put Eckler in there too.
Yeah. I like A.J. Brown, honestly, to have a bounce-back game. I know he didn't really show up until the second half, but, I mean, all game we were like, where is A.J. Brown? Where is A.J. Brown? Well, he kind of quietly got, I believe, 4 receptions, 4 or 5, and he's definitely the Titans' number 1 guy, so I like him a lot this week. So
Another guy I forgot to mention, Corey Davis from the Titans. I really feel that Tannehill is really liking Corey Davis than A.J. Brown. I might be wrong, but I really think Corey Davis, if you have him, I will start him as my flex. If you don't have any great wide receivers or running backs in your league, I will put Corey Davis since he got targeted.
Yeah,
I'm going to say about 4 or 7 times right there with 101 yards. So that's going to be very interesting, especially going to play a Jacksonville Jaguars defense. So it's going to be very interesting. Now, we don't know how Jacksonville Jaguars are as a defense against the Colts. So
yeah. Almost lost my train of thought, but I got it back. So one guy that I really like is Robbie Anderson. He had a great performance last week against the Raiders, going up against the Buccaneers secondary that finished last in the league last year. So I love Robbie Anderson. DJ Moore gets most of the attention as the wide receiver 1, but Robbie Anderson did great on the Jets in a bad situation. I look for him to do really well with 2 gloves, Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball.
Okay. Another flex I'm going to mention now, I'm going to say Fournette, since Fournette is going to play against the Panthers, and the Panthers did struggle to stop the run against Joshua Jacobs. So I will put Fournette as my flex too at the same time. If you don't have anybody else, I will put Fournette in that roster right there.
Yeah. I mean, the only kind of issue I have with that is just there's so many mouths to feed. You got Evans, Godwin, Gronk, Howard, and
True.
even in the running back, Ronald Jones got a lot more carries than I was expecting, and you got Shady McCoy. So, but yeah, you never know. Fournette could have a really good game. So.
The only reason why I say Fournette, because knowing the Tom Brady system, if you struggle against the run, they're gonna run the ball more on your defense than if they pass it. That's how because it's Tom Brady. I know I've seen him play in our division so many times. Because the Dolphins suck. They cannot stop the run for their lives, so they will run the ball on us. And I know how the Patriot system was. We just got lost by them, so I know how they run.
Yeah, that's painful.
What's more painful, the Dolphins or Browns?
Oh, definitely us. We've been the laughing stock. Went 0-16, 1-15 the year before.
For our defense, who are we trusting our defense this week?
I'm gonna let you go first here again. I gotta formulate my opinion here.
Okay, so I'm gonna say the Chiefs defense. I know I mentioned Austin Eckler before, but I still really like the Chiefs defense against a Tyrod Taylor offense. I still see the Chargers kind of struggling on offense still, and I really see the Chiefs defense putting it up on them. And then another team, this could be a sleeper too. I will say it's Washington football, since they do have a young talent, Chase Young. They did get 8 sacks on Carson Wentz last Sunday, so expect them to be pressuring Kyle Murray to throw that ball away. But I really see Washington football going to be a huge threat on defense this fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have to go with the Bills. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 3 picks last year. I'm talking about the Dolphins. I just remembered you were the Dolphins fan.
It's okay. It's all right.
I mean, pretty young, inexperienced, kind of weak offensive line. Ryan Fitzpatrick had a lot of turnovers last week. So I'm not loving the Dolphins' chances against a really, really good Bills defense, especially that secondary. So.
Oh, yeah. Then kickers, I'll start it off. I really like Ruby Gold against the Jets. Ruby Gold, I really think he will blossom against the Jets. Because there's going to be a lot of times where there's going to be field goals, but I think they're going to blow out the Jets, hopefully. Not like they lost the Cardinals, but it's going to be much simple game. It's not going to be simple, but I really see Ruby Gold getting about 12 points for your fantasy right there. Who do you got for kicker then?
I mean, I still think the best option, obviously somebody is going to have him is Justin Tucker going up against a shaky Texans defense, to say the least. I mean, he gave up, 42 points to the Chiefs, and I would say that the Ravens offense is capable of scoring even more than that. So it's going to be really tough. Justin Tucker's my guy. That's the only really, super high-up guy. So
I would say, it's my safe option, Justin Tucker, really, any week.
Oh, yeah. Any week, yeah.
Transition to our Thrive Fantasy, as I mentioned early in the show. So we're going to do over-under. We got 3 players. We're going to go over-under. So who we got? So I'm going to mention the first player, and we're going to see over-under. Lewis. So here we go. Derrick Henry, right? He gets he's going to get 115 yards in total, rushing and receiving yards. Is he going to go over or under?
115. Ooh. I'm going to go over. I'm still not super trusting of this Jaguars defense. I think Derrick Henry, he had the 99-yard run against them a couple years ago. He had the 70-yard run last year. He makes big plays against them. He's always capable of that. I don't see anyone on the Jaguars really super capable of bringing him down. So I like Derrick Henry over 115 yards.
I would agree there too. Like you mentioned, Derrick Henry has ran over the Jacksonville Jaguars in the past 2 seasons, really, if you really think about it. He will get more than 115 yards, so I would trust an over than under for Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry did go over 115 last week, so I'm going to see that again, plus with reception yards. Now we're going to go to the second player, Chris Godwin. Will he get more or less than 4 receiving catches? Like he will catch the ball.
4 receptions?
4 receptions right there. Would he get over or under there against the Panthers?
Weak Panthers secondary. They gave up to the Raiders, 34 points. I like Godwin's chances. I don't want to say he clicks well with Brady, but he's more Brady's type of receiver. So, yeah, I definitely like him more than 4 receptions this week.
I actually will differ here. I actually will say under. The only reason why I will say under is because, once again, what I mentioned earlier about Tom Brady knowing if your defense will suck during defensive line for the running, I will see him not throwing too often. So he's going to run the ball more often. So that's why I would say under. So you'll get about 3 or right there at 4. But not a lot of receiving yards, that's for certain.
Yeah.
And then our last player, it is Allen Robinson. Will he get a touchdown? Over or under?
Ooh, that's always a really tough one to predict.
Since he's been on the news this week about trying to get traded and all. But will he get a touchdown this Sunday against the Giants?
My gut is telling me just go for it. Yes, he is going to get a touchdown against the New York Giants. Obviously, the main focus of that offense, and I think he's trying to bump up his trade stock maybe. Maybe that's a theory that I have. Just a great player. Trubisky's obviously go-to guy. And I think if we see fourth quarter Mitch that we saw last week, then he has a really, really good chance of getting a touchdown.
Yeah, I will agree there too. I will go over here. I will trust in Robinson since he's trying to make a proof to himself of trying to get a trade or go back to Jacksonville. Who knows? But knowing Mitchell Trubisky, that fourth quarter, if you see that fourth quarter magic that he did, then you're definitely going to see Robinson getting a touchdown at least. Just to transition to our last segment here, Floridian picks. So just to explain Floridian picks, we got 3 matchups. We pick who's going to win that and by how many and why. Just to explain to anybody that does not know about Floridian picks. So our first matchup, Lions versus Packers. Now the Lions did choke that game, Swift, causing a lot of fantasy owners to scream at the TV after Swift drops the touchdown right there, if you had him started. And then you have the Packers with Rodgers going off with 4 touchdowns with shout out to Peyton Dole right there for predicting Aaron Rodgers going off that game. But who you got this game, Lewis? Lions or Packers? Why?
I hate to be that guy, but I got the Packers easily here. Look, Rodgers to Adams, that kind of elite route running and elite accuracy, the Lions defense just stands no chance. And a great offensive line, Aaron Jones, of course. The defense stands no chance. The Vikings defense is even better. I don't think of them as a bad defense at all. I think they're definitely above average, and they just got smoked. 44 points put up against them. I think the Packers have a good chance of going over 50. Lions offense is pretty powerful, but against that Packers defense, I don't see them getting anywhere close to 50 points. So I definitely got the Packers in here. I'm going to go for the score. I'm going to say 49 to about, I'm going to give like a 27. So about a 20-point spread. Yeah.
Whew, that's a blowout right there, really, if you think about it. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers too. I really see Aaron Rodgers it's going to go off once again. I think he'll get 5 touchdowns, though. I really will see him getting 5 touchdowns, 2 to Adams, a few to his wide receivers, and to Aaron Jones. And the Lions will struggle. They're going to try to get their key star player, Keen Goldie, back. Yeah. But it's questionable because they don't want to risk it. So, and they don't have a true wide receiver. And then Swift is still trying to develop. So I'll go with a safe pick. I'll go with the Packers. And the final score will be it's gonna be a big one. So I'm gonna say 45-30. Kind of like how it was last week. 45. I'm going to say 45-30. That's what my pick would be.
Makes sense.
And then this 425 game, Baltimore and Texans, what we were just mentioning earlier. So who I got this game, I'm going to go with Baltimore. Lamar Jackson really proved himself. Well, then again, he did play against the Browns, but with his Texans defense on the secondary, I think he's going to go off against them. So I will pick Baltimore, and Baltimore will win this. Close one. I think it will be a close one. It'll be 31-24 will be the final score.
Yeah. Hey, watch your mouth with that jab at the Browns, man. I'm kidding. Our secondary looked awful. Texans defense is better than the Browns, but you just stand no chance. Ravens, top 3 defense, top 5 offensive line, top 5 tight end. You got Lamar, obviously. Great coaching staff. I mean, how do you beat them? The Texans, they got blown out with DeAndre Hopkins. Now you're taking him away for this season, and you think they're going to win? Like, no, they're going to get blown out. I'm going to go with the score of, I don't think Lamar will play in the fourth quarter, so I think they'll ease off the gas pedal definitely. I'm going to go a 35-10 or something.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That'll blow out for you.
Absolutely.
The only reason why I have Texans close because I think Watson is still relevant. I think he's still relevant, and I think he gets that good connection with Will Fuller. That's why unless they stop Will Fuller, then that's a different story. But it will be a close game. If not, then yeah, I will see that blowout.
No, I mean, I love Deshaun Watson, absolutely. I think Will Fuller has a lot of potential if he stays healthy. But, I mean, Watson to Fuller is very, very different from Watson to Hopkins. Watson to Hopkins, just a different breed. So that's why I think that it's still going to be a blowout, definitely. But
having David Johnson as the running back to replace Hopkins, really. So
yeah,
it's difficult. And then Seattle versus Pats, a Sunday night game. So Cam Newton versus Russell Wilson in Central Link Field. So it's going to be very interesting. There won't be any noise, really. But who wins that one? Starting out with you.
I got the Seahawks. I love Russell Wilson. Love that man. I think he's the best quarterback in the league. And you match him with an elite wide receiver core. I think out of everything we saw from them week 1 against the Falcons, that's the one thing we can take away. That this wide receiver core, it's legit. DK Metcalf, he's ready to step up. Tyler Lockett proved that he's extremely underrated. You still got Greg Olsen, Will Dissly, and Chris Carson went off, obviously. You just got so many weapons. The best quarterback in the league. And you say, well, he doesn't have that good O-line. He's never had a good O-line.
No, he never has.
Still made it to the Super Bowl. Jamal Adams on defense, Bobby Wagner. They're ridiculously overpowered. So I'm going to go Hawks here pretty easily. I got them winning by – I'll make it a little bit close, like a 17-point advantage.
Okay. I got Seattle here. I like how the Pats defense did against Miami, but, of course, it's against Miami's weak offense there. I don't think they will do the same thing against Seattle, especially with those wide receivers they have and their running back, especially Russell Wilson getting away from that defense. I know Cam Newton will show up, but Cam Newton will fall short. So I'm going to say 27-24 matchup right there. It's going to be – I will say it's a close one than what a lot of people think, but I think Cam Newton might spring out against Seattle. Who knows? But I'll still say Seattle still wins this 27-24. That's the final score right there. And just a little bonus – just for people that are going to view this Sunday, we're going to do a Thursday night, so we'll figure out who wins that matchup right there. The Browns and the Bengals, since I don't want to mention his Baker Mayfield jersey there. So who you got?
I got to go with my boys. Look, a week ago, if you would have asked me and said that the Bengals are going to win, I would have called you crazy. Now I think it's honestly more likely than not, but I'm still going to give the Browns the edge here. I'm going to go like a 24-20. Me being a Browns fan, I don't care if the Bengals put up 50 against us. I really don't care. I want to see our offense start to really move. I mean, you got Beckham, Landry, Njoku, Hooper, Mayfield, an improved offensive line, new coach. I want to see that offense play up to its potential, have just a huge game, over 40 points. That's what I really want from them. But realistically, I think like a 24-20 Browns is more of what we're going to see.
Yeah, I'm really going to see that. Now, I'm not going to go for your Browns. I will go for the Bengals in this game. I really liked Joe Burrow last week than Baker Mayfield, unless Baker Mayfield all of a sudden changes his ways. But I just like Joe Burrow, how he played against the Chargers. I think Joe Burrow is going to do pretty good against your Browns. So it's going to be a close one, as you said. It's going to be 27-24. It's still going to be a close game. It's going to rely on the field goal, especially the kicker you just released to the Bengals. So he might get the game winner for you guys. Against you guys, so imagine. I
mean, I'd be happy for him if that happens. I really would. I like him a lot. I don't know why exactly we cut him and got Cody Parkey, so that's just a stupid mistake. Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good player to trust.
It's one of the most Browns things you can possibly do.
Thank you, Lewis, so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I always love your podcast, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I know you're gonna get higher. Trust me, we're gonna get there as soon as possible, man. I'm rooting for you a lot, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, same with you, man. Keep grinding this. Absolutely. If you ever want me on again, I would be more than happy to do it. Really good episode. So thank you very much for having me.
No problem, Lewis. Thank you guys for listening to Ethan and Mike Sports Show. I'm your host, Ethan, and we'll see you next week, episode 40. Take care, guys.